And we have a question from Adam Daniel Mazet. Question about your conservatory experience. I'm assuming this is for you, Lars. Is it better than you expected? About what you expected? Not what you expected? And what is your opinion about mixing coaching styles? Counterproductive, or one never knows from whence one obtains one mentorship and inspiration?
Great question. And my answer would be a resounding more than I expected. It's been even more transformative and deeper than I could have ever imagined. And a lot of that is from the spectrum of classes that I take, not just Tom's classes, but all the faculty across the board. Like, so we're doing we have acting classes with Tom where we do scenes and we do monologues and we do cold reads and audition pieces. Then we've got a bunch of voice and speech classes. We had an improv class. We have a film history class, a theater history class, a film production class, a Shakespeare class, an Alexander technique class, a Linklater class, a business of acting class, a Chekhov movement and viewpoint class. I'm still missing some. I haven't even named them all. Oh, we had a voiceover class as well. We have this clown class. So it's actually more classes than I even expected. But each one of the instructors, they're top level instructors. They really fucking care too. So and this was part of the reason I joined the Conservative. I went and did the conservatory. I did the week-long intensive in New York City last summer, and all of the instructors, especially one that stood out, was Mary Lou Rosado in her Shakespeare class, which I'd never really done much Shakespeare since high school. And in high school, I didn't give a shit about it at all. But just seeing her passion and enthusiasm, and you see her going over the words, and she's just like, ooh, look at here and there. And she's saying them with such passion where it's what's the word? Like, it's contagious. When you see someone that type of passion, you get swept up in it, and then you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This woman loves it so much. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the class, you're like, wow, that was really deep and transformative. So across the board, so many epiphany moments. I had never taken a full conservatory experience. I started acting later in life when I was 31. And so all my training was piecemeal. It was a lot by learning on set, student films, and doing background, and then taking workshops and intensives and learning on set and learning through books and reading and watching videos and all this kind of stuff. But I'd never done one full, all-inclusive, all-encompassing program, which was causing me, or I was anticipating it to eventually cause me to have some imposter syndrome eventually, where I knew, like, the further I go in this field, I'm going to be eventually acting across people who have been to Juilliard and been in the Royal Shakespeare Company and have studied and studied and studied with all these greats. And I'm like, well, I learned by doing stand-up and improv classes. Like, I was feeling like I wasn't going to stack up later on. So a lot of it's been a confidence booster to me. And just going deeper. I think anything you care, if there's something that you care about, this is my advice to everyone, no matter what it is, whether it's acting or not, just go deeper, peel another layer off the onion, go deeper, go deeper. If you take someone's introductory class and you like it and you like them as an instructor, be like, I like that. And I was just getting the intro, like the get a taste teaser class. What about the full class? What about the week-long class? What about the month-long class? What about the year-long class? And that was my thinking with Tom. Is I always really connected with him at the workshops and the Saturday workshop, and then the intensive. And I was like, I'm loving learning from him, and I am deeply affected and transformed by a day with him and a few hours with him. So it's like, how can I not be more affected by going more? And part of that is just when you invest in something as well. It's one of my business coaches, James Wedmore, says the transformation begins with the transaction. So I also paid a lot of money for this. So when you invest in it, then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I better show up and I better like work and put in the time and put in the energy and the emotions to it. So that was a big part of it to me. And to answer your question there, what's your opinion about mixed coaching styles? I'm going blurry here again. Let me see if I can fix myself. Well, you guys are going to have to deal with it. I'm just going to stay here blurry. There we are. I think it's great. I think you do. It can be a challenge if you ever hear contrasting opinions, but that's also life. Throughout all of life, you're going to hear different things from different people, and part of becoming your own human being, and as an actor, what are we? We're becoming professional human beings. You have to start discerning what works for you, and it's not about one person having the be all and end all technique and opinion, and the one way. It's, you take pearls of wisdom from different people, you figure out, you know what, that really resonated with me, I really like that, I really connect with that style, and you take from them, and then you can amalgamate it so at the end of your life you have your own opinions on life and your own beliefs and philosophies. You're not taking anyone's own coaching, it just says the be all and end all dogma and everything else is garbage. And I think that's a bad way to live your life. So you got to sort of take everything with a little bit of grain of salt. But when you really connect with someone, connect with them and lean into it. And that's how I feel about Tom's teaching and the technique and the structure of guidepost, vocal variation, and viewpoints, and 4 agreements. It is a really all-encompassing technique that I find works in every scene and every scenario, more than other techniques I've learned and heard about and studied, where it was just like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It seems he's the closest thing to working all the time, and it's because it's a mix of science and art, or it's he talks about it being the physics of performance, if that makes sense. So that's my long-winded answer to, it's been 2 thumbs up conservatory experience. I think, and it just comes down to invest in yourself, invest in your training, invest in your growth, invest in your learning, whether it's with Todoroff Conservatory or any other training. Just go deeper, train hard, keep learning.
And I love what you said about no coach is the be all end all. I 100% agree with you on that. I think it's vitally important for every actor to have as many different coaches as possible. Never marry one technique, because acting is a lot about contradictions. There are a lot of contradictions in acting because it comes down to the personal. And what we talked about before, what is important to you will be important to somebody else if you apply your technique and apply your personal aspect to it, to the work, because it will feel so much better for you. And because it feels so much better for you, we'll feel that. We will innately understand that when you're on stage or screen, because we're innately drawn to people that care. I think I've said this before on the podcast, but I think Tom's technique and the Todoroff technique is probably the closest thing to the least amount of contradictions to it, because it is very much like, if you follow the guideposts, if you follow vocal variation, if you use viewpoints in all of your work will not be bad. And that
it's certainly going to be better. It will always be better as you dial up all of those things. And those contradictions too, that's life. As you hear chatter, you read it on the internet, and you got to discern, you got to fact check your own things through your own experience. Not just take like, oh, I read this on the internet, this has got to be true, that guy said this guy said that. It's like, you're going to hear varying opinions, and a big part of life is shutting out some of that noise and discerning what's factual for you, or maybe it's not even a matter of facts, it's just what is working, what's fun, what's fun for you. What's useful for you, what's enjoyable for you. And that's another thing about Tom's method, is he puts a big focus on playing the positive, playing humor, playing the love. And that's what all of us want in our lives as well too, and fighting for what you want. So if you're really loving things and you're having fun doing it, and you're fighting for what you want and saying yes to what you want and going after it, that's going to translate on screen as an actor, and it's also going to translate in your life, because your life's going to be better. And that's something, not that I don't think Tom bills himself as a life coach. But when you apply all those guideposts and when you really learn them, you see it all in life too, not just in TV and film and on stage. You walk around, you're like, oh, that's opposites. That's why that was funny. Or,
Yeah.
oh, that was a great discovery right there. Oh
Mhm.
man, was that ever importance? So yeah, no, it's very transformative. So I would highly recommend. And it's sad that it's coming to a close. We finish the end of or first week in May. I'm excited. It's funny. It's that bittersweet thing of I'm excited for the next phase of my life as a performer, and I am excited. I'd be lying if I wasn't excited to have some of the time in my week back to do other things. But also the reason I'm excited is because I know I'm more heavily armed with more technique and more knowledge and more training in general, so that I know when I now have the time to go out and apply that in my life and in my career, that good things are going to happen from it. So as sad as it's going to be to say goodbye to those instructors and to my classmates, but the flip side is we've developed such strong relationships in our ensemble. It's 22 people from all over the world that never would have met in person ever before. And we've met via Zoom. And the instructors are brilliant too. And every one of the instructors, when they finish the class, has said, you can email me, you can text me anytime you want. Like, consider me a resource for your entire career. I'll always answer your emails. So it's not like you paid for this course and if you don't pay me, I'm not going to answer your question. Everyone has been amazing by saying like, this is now a lifelong relationship and I'm a resource that if you ever need anything, reach out and I'll do my best to reply and help you out wherever you are in your career. So it's been brilliant.